Here we go. The poll is up. I had the same poll yesterday as well. Cunha, he won that one, but I'm not really convinced by Cunha. I think he's a great replacement for Bruno Fernandes, definitely, but I have some other plans in mind. I was really close to pull the trigger yesterday on Anthony Gordon. We'll probably do it in a couple of minutes. Doc, hello mate, just found your channel, subbed, and keep up the grind. Thanks a lot, really appreciate it. I actually had a few new followers over Christmas, so it's up to 3,216. So thanks all for subscribing. So I usually post team selection videos and have those Q&As before the deadlines as well. Usually on Friday nights. When I find the time, I do deadline streams as well. So this deadline, I will go a bit earlier than usual. I have some commitments this evening, so will not be able to have a stream when the actual deadline is. So that's why this one is a bit earlier than usual. For this week, Cunha or Wirtz? I think it's a really good question. I have the same question in my poll, to be honest. I think that for me, it's down to 3 options at the moment. I think Rice is a really good option as well, but I already have Rice. I think probably Cunha is the safest Bruno Fernandes replacement. The reason why I'm actually considering to go for Anthony Gordon is the fact that this will give me a bit more funds in the bank and will let me upgrade from Raul Jimenez to Jared Bowen next game week. If I go for Wirtz, if I go for Cunha, I will not be able to upgrade Jimenez to Bowen. Hey mate, any updates on Wilson? We actually had some updates today. It's not what Harry Wilson owners was looking for. So we just know that this injury to Harry Wilson, it wasn't that serious. It was a kick to the knee. So no real updates, to be honest. I think that Harry Wilson still is touch and go for game week 18. So I just read this on the Fantasy Football Scout on the article page. So they actually had an article this morning. We got a bit information from Fulham and Man United as well. So I think this update wasn't really necessary. I think we knew this beforehand. We know that Bruno Fernandes will miss a couple of game weeks, and we know that Harry Wilson is still a doubt for game week 18. Let's see what they wrote about Harry Wilson. So Silva said, Wilson, it looks more serious than it is right now. It was a big knock on the knee. It's still painful and we will assess him. Muniz and Sessignon are still out. I'm hopeful about Harry Wilson, but the games come thick and fast. Let's hope we can have him available. So that's the tweet. So Cunha, he is the early favorite in the poll. Just mentioned, I actually had the same poll up yesterday and Cunha, he won. So we have Cunha on 75, Wirtz on 25. So early indications that Cunha probably will win this one as well. We had a question in the chat, who is the better replacement for Bruno Fernandes? Is it Cunha or Wirtz? I think probably Cunha is the best replacement if you don't have any other Man United players, especially if you have Ekitike already. I would definitely go for Cunha. No votes for Anthony Gordon, even though Anthony Gordon, he is probably the likeliest to replace Bruno Fernandes for me at the moment. Playbell, hello brother, I posted my team for the yesterday's live but couldn't join the stream. I will look it up in a minute, Playbell. I remember you actually posting, you were quite early. I think you probably were the first one yesterday as well. Sarah, is buying Ekitiki or Cunha plus Wirtz, which one is more worth? I think probably replacing Bruno Fernandes should be first priority. 9 million will miss at least 3 to 4 games. Will drop in price as well. So I think replacing Bruno Fernandes should be first priority. The best player out of the ones you're mentioning is probably Ekitiki. Really good fixture playing at home against Wolves. We know Gakpo is a doubt. We know that Alexander Isak is injured. So Ekitiki will probably start up front for Liverpool. Just so that you have 7 top 35k finishes. That's very impressive. How long have you been playing? I think I probably started, I think it's 11 years now. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, started in the 2014-15 season. So that season, I think I just didn't pay that much attention, so started taking the game a bit more serious the next season in 2015-2016. So I had some really good seasons, and actually my last couple of seasons have been a bit tougher. Playbell, it's the first year that I'm actually playing the game, not just make a team and leave it there till the end. We know that there are a lot of dead teams, right, every season. Some of them usually do well. I think that in the top, at least in the top 50, there are still teams that haven't made a single transfer so far this season. Glad to see fellow veterans. This is my 19th season. Wow. So this is my 12th season, I guess? Even though I'm not sure if you can count the first season. I think I were one of those managers, Playbell, mentioning in the chat that first season. I'm not really sure if I joined the game ahead of game week 1. I actually started playing fantasy games when it was like, I think it was the Euros or a World Cup. Just saw a commercial, created a team. But let's have a look at Playbell's team sent in yesterday. So if you're interested in having your team reviewed, head over to X. Post your team under this one. Vish Malhotra, have sent my team, bro. Give it a look in a minute. Thanks for joining, by the way. let's head over to this one and have a look at Playbell's team. 82 points in game week 17, still a red arrow, now 107k. Got Cunha in for Bruno Fernandes, Keane in for Collins. Both transfers before they went up in price. I think I rushed too much in transfers now. I'm thinking about Ekitiki, but not sure if it's worth a -4. Probably not. Let's see. So this is Playbell's team. Already made a couple of transfers. The team looks pretty good. Let's have a look. Raya in goal, double up with Timber in defense. Joachim Andersen, Keane, Mukiele, Saka, Cunha, Semenyo, Phil Foden, Haaland, and Thiago. On the bench, Richard Sminthe and Mark Gui. So I think this team looks really good, to be honest. So taking a -4 to rip up the team structure and bring in Ekitiki. I'm not really sure if it's worth it, to be honest. Of course, the fixture is really, really tempting at home against Wolves. You can see the temptation of getting in Ekitiki, but at least for me, I will definitely give Thiago one more chance. He is actually, when you take a look in the graphics on the right-hand side, you can see that Thiago is actually one of the favorites, according to bookies, for anytime goal scorer. So Haaland, he is first, 59%, Ekitiki 55%, while Thiago is actually number 3 with 43% chance of a goal. This is not my predictions, it's according to the bookies. I won't do the -4, hope I don't regret it. Hopefully. So for the -4 to work out, you need Thiago to blank and you need Ekitiki to score. So if Ekitiki blanks, you will lose points, and if Thiago scores, it can still be counted as kind of a fail, but I think I'd try to avoid the -4, to be honest. Not Nepo, hello, thanks for joining in. And now he's gone up in price so much, you could have saved nearly 0.3 if it went early. Yeah. There were a lot of managers going early with their transfers before the Bruno Fernandes injury, so I think we actually might see a lot of hits this game week. Of course, some still have transfers left from the 5 AFCON transfers given in game week 15, but there were a lot of early transfers, early price rises for players like Ekitiki, and managers selling players like Mbumo as well. So a lot of transfers before the Bruno Fernandes injury. What do you think are the chances both Wilson and Richards misses out? I think Richards probably will sit out this one. We haven't had any news on Richards since yesterday, so at least from what I've seen, but the early reports were that actually some concerns about his participation in the World Cup this summer, but this has been downplayed. So the latest is that he potentially can be back for game week 19, game week 20. I think that if he's fit enough, he will probably start. We got some news from Silva on Harry Wilson. actually today, so he's still touch and go. He got a big knock on his knee, but it's same as with Richards. It's not as serious as first predicted. So Harry Wilson, I think he probably will play. They have some players that have traveled to participate in the AFCON tournament, like Iwobi. So Whitman is still being out as well. Of course, they can start Josh King on the right, but I think that Harry Wilson probably will start. What do you think of playing Collins and Vandenberg every week? They get DEFCON every week. It's not the worst idea. Could be really good value. Collins, he has some attacking threat as well. I was really close to bring in Collins myself, but I went for Vandenberg because he was 0.4 cheaper compared to Collins. But I think both are really good option. Doubling up on the Brentford defense every game week. Would at least have one potential rotation player on my bench as well. So you can at least play one of your Brentford defenders, probably bench Van de Ven. If you have someone like Van Hecke in a rotation, or Anderson, the Fulham centre back, to avoid doubling up on their defense every week. But when they have good fixtures, especially at home, doubling up on Brentford could be a really good idea. I went Keane for Collins. Should I swapped another defender? I think Michael Keane is one of the best options at the moment. Was Collins a sell? I'm not really sure, to be honest. I think he probably... Seeing that you have Timber, I would keep Timber. Anderson is decent as well. Michele, really good value. Richards, if you really wanted Keane, it probably made sense to sell Collins, but knowing that Richards is out, probably Richards to Keane would have been a bit better, but having an Everton defender should be really good going forward. I have Wilson starting, Richards on the bench. After that, Minte versus Arsenal is the next backup. Should I use a transfer to be safe? I think having Minte probably is enough, and saving the transfer to have even more information ahead of the next deadline is probably a good idea, to be honest. I think there will be a lot of rotation in game week 19. So Friday deadline, most of the games will be played on Saturday this game week. New deadline is actually on Tuesday. So a quick turnaround between game week 18 and game week 19. We might see some injuries in game week 18, some players picking up 5 yellow cards. So having transfers heading into game week 19 could be crucial. So I would just have my fingers crossed, hope Harry Wilson starts, and if Harry Wilson is out, at least you will have Minte. He can do something against Arsenal, of course, but at least you will get 2 points from Minte. How do you feel not having Ekitike? I'm a bit jealous on Ekitike owners. After seeing the numbers, he has been transferred in a lot. Over 1.2 million new FPL managers ahead of game week 18. So not having any Liverpool players in that fixture at home against Wolves, I'm not even sure if I will be able to watch that game, but Red or dead. I see that after you slept on it, you have decided to go for Cunha. I actually didn't make the transfer yesterday. I was really close to pull the trigger on. This is actually not my team. I haven't made my transfer yet. I was really close to pull the trigger on Bruno Fernandes to Anthony Gordon yesterday, but let's see. So we had some others. This was Playbell's team. This was from yesterday's stream. We had a team posted on this one as well. It's Wish Malhotra. Any other changes? I have done Raul to Ekitike and Bruno Fernandes to Rodgers. Not ideal if Minte has to be subbed on with that fixture. It's a really tough fixture for Minte. Of course, if Harry Wilson will completely miss game week 18, you will have to trust Minte, and it will probably be 2 points from Minte in game week 18. If I do it, I will still have 2 transfers going into next week. Of course, if you have a feeling that Harry Wilson will miss out in game week 18 and you don't want to have Minte, can potentially use a transfer, definitely, saying that you have 3 free transfers at the moment. So what's your transfer plan? Will you sell Richards or do something with Harry Wilson or Minte? Things that around that price point, it's not that many interesting options at the moment. It kind of depends how much you have in the bank as well. So this is Wish Malhotra's team: Raya in goal, Timber, O'Reilly, and Mukiele. In midfield, Phil Foden, Saka, Bruno, Jim Rush, and Rodgers. Erling Haaland, Ekitike, and Thiago. Wow, this team looks really good ahead of game week 18, to be honest. You have some of the most in-demand players, especially up front with Ekitike. Seeing that he is your captain as well will be really, really hard for Ekitike non-owners to survive this game week if he scores a couple of goals against Wolves. The thing is that the fixture is so good, his form is good as well. He has overperformed his XG a bit. So I think Ekitike owners so far have probably been a bit lucky, but I think that transferring Ekitike in this game week totally makes sense. I think if I had an easy way to get Ekitike in, I would probably do it. The thing is that I have Thiago, I have Raul, they have decent fixtures this game week themselves, and they are on penalties, so I'm not taking a hit for Ekitike this game week. I think this team looks good to go. You have cover on the bench. Of course, not the best fixture for Cash playing away against Chelsea, but at least you have him ready on the bench, and you have King as well. So Wish Malhotra, I think this team looks good to go. No more transfers needed, at least in my opinion. So best of luck for game week 18. Hoping that you will get a green arrow, but I'm hoping that this green arrow will come from other players than Ekitike. Let's see. So this is my team at the moment. 2 free transfers, 0 in the bank. Bruno Fernandes, he will leave. So my potential Bruno Fernandes replacements, I discussed this yesterday as well, will be Cunha, Anthony Gordon, or Wirtz. So I I really like the fixture for Liverpool, as mentioned a couple of times. At home against Wolves, I'm really tempted by Wirtz. I think Cunha probably is the best replacement. A really easy straight swap from Bruno Fernandes to Cunha. The reason why I'm leaning towards Anthony Gordon is the fact that I think Raul Jimenez will see some rotation going forward. He has played a lot of minutes. It's a quick turnaround between game week 18 and game week 19. So my plan is actually to do Bruno Fernandes to Anthony Gordon, and this will let me upgrade Raul Jimenez to Jared Bowen next game week. Not Nepo, I'm considering Richards to the Kuiper, Richards or the Kuiper to Keane, Lewis, Potter. I think Keane in is probably what I would have gone for in game week 18. They have so good fixtures, and I know that Everton, they haven't really impressed us that much, but they have actually been pretty solid defensively. So I don't necessarily see Richards and De Kuiper as definite sells. De Kuiper, he is actually one of the defenders with the best attacking stats. He has played a bit advanced recently for Brighton. So Richards, De Kuiper, they could actually be good players to have. But if you really want, and you have said in the chat as well, you're a bit concerned about your team this game week because of the Harry Wilson uncertainty and the fact that Minte has a really tough fixture. So if you want to play it safe, I would say that selling Richards, who is most probably out, to bring in Keane is probably a good long-term move as well. Mark, why are you waiting to sell Bruno? It's mostly because I haven't really decided what to do with Bruno Fernandes, and I checked the price rise and price drops yesterday, and I saw that Bruno Fernandes, he was not going to drop in price. So this gave me a bit more time. So that's the reason why. So I was pretty set on just selling Bruno Fernandes to bring in Anthony Gordon. But after taking a look at the poll, there were a lot of discussion in the chat yesterday on the Q&A as well about the best replacement. Cunha, he is the favorite at the moment, 38%. Wirtz is second with 33%. We have Anthony Gordon, actually 19%, so it's not that bad for Anthony Gordon. And we have 10% for others. Redder Dead was one of the FPL managers trying to convince me yesterday to go for Cunha. I kind of agree with the arguments. Cunha will be the talisman for Man United in the upcoming game week, so definitely makes sense. But considering the fact that I will be stuck with Raul Jimenez, so in isolation, I think that going for Cunha is probably the best option. Going for Wirtz makes sense, seeing that he is starting to find some form and they have a really, really good fixture in game week 18. But I think it's kind of team dependent. So I often get the question, do I need to play my wildcard? Should I play my wildcard this game week or that game week? I think it's often really team dependent. So if your team needs a wildcard, you should just push the button, even though there aren't that many content the biggest content creators, if they're not playing their wildcard, it could be the best game week for you to play your wildcard regardless. And for my team, I think I just mentioned that I think probably Cunha and Wirtz are the better options, especially for game week 18. But for my team going forward, going for Anthony Gordon, he's not that far behind Wirtz and Cunha. And with the money I save by going for Anthony Gordon, it lets me upgrade Raul Jimenez to Jared Bowen. So for my team at the moment, considering I don't have any funds available, I think Anthony Gordon is probably the best replacement. Bruno Fernandes replacements. Can you review my team, please? Yes, I can. So have you posted your team on X? So if you're interested in having your team reviewed, head over to X, post a picture of your team selection under my latest post. You need Liverpool players better fixtures. The thing is that if I go for Wirtz, as mentioned, of course I can do Bruno Fernandes to Wirtz, but I will not be able to do Raul Jimenez to Jared Bowen next game week. Why not Lewis Potter as well? He is playing out of position at left wing. Definitely a really good option. I actually made my graphics for my game week 19 transfer targets, and Lewis Potter is mentioned in that video. So a really good option. I just think that Keane is a bit safer, feels like. But of course, we saw in game week 17, Lewis Potter, he can be really explosive, scored a brace. So I think that probably Michael Keane is the safest option at the moment, but Lewis Potter is probably a bit more exciting as well. It will be really interesting for you to watch the Brentford games going forward. Rather that with the landscape changing so quickly these days with so many games and injuries, mine minutes are key. If you went for Cunha, would it be the worst thing to bench Raul next week and play Anderson at home? Of course, could work benching Raul Jimenez. The thing is that I really think that Jared Bowen could be a really good option going forward. As you say, minutes are key going forward with the quick turnarounds between the game weeks. So having players like Jared Bowen. Bruno to Cunha, Thiago to Raul. Bruno to Cunha, Thiago, or Raul Jimenez to Ekitike if you have the money. I totally agree that those transfers would definitely make sense to bring in Ekitike, but my problem is that I actually don't have any funds available. So I have 2 free transfers, but 0 in the bank. I have looked at options to bring in Ekitike. I think I could actually do something like Thiago and Bruno Fernandes to Ekitike and Anthony Gordon, possibly. Keep mentioning Anthony Gordon. Rather that must be fuming. Do you have a free hit advice this week, please? I have this 1 chip left. I actually made a free hit video, so if you're interested, go watch that one. It's available on my channel. Made a wildcard and free hit video for game week 18. So if you still have your chips left, my advice would be to go watch that video. Bruno to Lefebvre or Raul to Ekitike? For my team, or your own team. Bruno Fernandes to Lefebvre, Raul Jimenez to Ekitike. That could probably work, but Lefebvre, Sunderland. So it's like selling two solid penalty takers in Bruno Fernandes and Raul Jimenez. To bring in Ekitike, of course, really good option, and it's tempting, but Lefebvre, I think it's a bit too much of a downgrade. Radu Gaviluta, Gordon, or Wirtz for a -4. I think I would prefer avoiding a -4. I think there will be a lot of hits this game week, as mentioned earlier. So starting this game week on 0 points, and you're off to a really good start. But if you're replacing a player that's injured like Bruno Fernandes, it's probably okay. Sets up your team good for the upcoming game weeks. So I think Bruno Fernandes to Wirtz for a -4 is probably a good idea. We'll have a watch of your free hit video. Thanks. No worries. That's actually the first video I've ever made that reached 5K views. So if you're interested and if you want to support the channel, go watch that one. So if you want to support the channel, subscribe as well. I do weekly team selection videos. I do wildcard free hit videos as well, and I have those streams usually on Friday nights, and I have the occasional deadline stream as well. I'm going a bit early today because I have commitments this evening, so that's why this stream is a bit earlier than usual. So it's still 5 hours and 37 minutes left until the deadline. Triple captain Ekitike or Hallen in game week 19. So Erling Haaland playing away against Sunderland. Ekitike at home against Leeds. I think it kind of depends on your rank. Erling Haaland is the safest play, of course. Ekitike. Triple captain Ekitike at home against Leeds in game week 19. I really like the sound of this, so probably Ekitike. Of course, it kind of depends on how game week 18 turns out, of course, but I think that Ekitike will play most minutes going forward. So triple captain Ekitike game week 19 should be really interesting. Red or Dead, not at all. I might go for Gordon next week myself. Nice. I'm still leaning towards Anthony Gordon. Daniel George, rank 30k, Captain Haaland or Ekitike. I think I would go Erling Haaland if you want to play safe. It's kind of the same as with Hayden. Triple captain Haaland or Ekitike in game week 19. Captain Ekitike or Haaland in game week 18. I think it's kind of similar dilemmas because we know that Erling Haaland, he will be the most captain player. He is the most selected player as well, so his ownership will be well above, let's say, 150% effective ownership. So in game week 17, his effective ownership actually went over 200. So if you only captained Erling Haaland in game week 17, he would hurt your rank. So the safest play is Erling Haaland. If you want to take a risk, go for Ekitike. Not Nepo. Oh, let's say if I brought in Keane or Lewis Potter, would you bench Ballard for any of them? Yeah, I think they are better options compared to Ballard this game week. So by having Ballard and Minthe on the bench, then your team is definitely ready for game week 18. For me, it's next week's conundrums: Wilson to Gordon, Szoboszlai, or Rodgers. The thing is that Aston Villa, they have some really good fixtures coming up as well. From the top of my head, I think they have really tough fixtures this game week and game week 19, and from game week 20 and onwards, they have some really good fixtures. When it comes to Newcastle, I think the great run of fixtures starts in game week 19. So let's see. Newcastle in game week. Yeah, in game week 19, Newcastle have Burnley, while Aston Villa, they play away against Arsenal. I think this would probably make me go for Anthony Gordon rather than Rodgers, to be honest. We take a look at the stats as well. I know that it doesn't mean the world, but Anthony Gordon, he actually is really involved. So he has a high expected goal involvement, while Rodgers has scored a brace in game week 17, but he doesn't have that great expected goal involvements. Sandri Balju, hi, thanks for joining in. Ooh, Cunha, even more votes for Cunha. He's on 43%. So not much love for Gordon in the poll, even though he's still the player I'm leaning towards as my Bruno Fernandes replacement. Next week's conundrum, Gordon. I talked about Gordon, Rodgers, Szoboszlai. He was in there as well. I think I would still go for Anthony Gordon. Szoboszlai, probably if you don't have any other Liverpool attacking players, but if you have Ekitike, I would definitely go for Anthony Gordon. So let's see if there are any more posts on X. Ahead of the game, no free transfers. Do I take a hit to sell Bruno? And if so, who do I bring in? No free transfers. So the question is it worth taking a -4 to sell Bruno Fernandes? So let's see which players we have. We have Hincapié in defense. We didn't get any concrete news about him. So hopefully for his owners he will start. I'm actually hoping that Hinkapi will start myself, because if he's out, I think that Timber will play center back. So hopefully we can see Timber on the right in game week 18. Van Dijk is in, O'Reilly, Senesi, Gudmundsson, so solid. Back five, Semenyo, Phil Foden, Rice, Elliot Anderson. Ekitiki is already in. So with this team, I would actually be tempted to do Bruno Fernandes to Cunha for a -4. Bench Elliot Anderson for game week 18. Bring in Cunha. So it's Elliot Anderson, Senesi, and Gudmundsson on the bench. Hope that Hinkapi starts. Sell Bruno Fernandes, bring in Cunha. So the reason why I would have Senesi on my bench is that you will avoid having your defender play against your forward. So Senesi, Thiago, they are up against each other this game week, so I would bench Senesi. Can you look at my team, please? I used my 1 free transfer, getting Rice in for Bruno. Do I take a -4 to sell Vicario, Richards, or Morgan Gibbs White? Let's see. Let's have a look. So this is Radu Gabrieluta's team, 79 points. That's a green arrow for game week 17. There we go. Do I take a -4 to sell Vicario, Richards, or Morgan Gibbs White? So Bruno Fernandes, he is already sold. So Rice is in. You already have Cunha. Gibbs White is, of course, not the best option. But with this team, I think I would just bench Gibbs White, probably start Jared Bowen. Richards, I think Richards will miss game week 18, but you have Gudmundsson, not the worst picture for Leeds in game week 18. So I think I would actually have Richards, Gibbs White, and Mark Gui on the bench. Start Jared Bowen, start Gudmundsson. I think you can survive this game week without taking a hit, and you will have Gibbs White on the bench. The thing is that he can, of course, get an assist against Man City. He can pick up defensive contribution points as well. So I think your team will be strong enough. So Bruno Fernandes, he is Rice. So your team will be O'Reilly, Timber, Vandenberg, and Gudmundsson in defense. Rice, Phil Foden, Semenyo, Cunha, And up front, Erling Haaland and Jared Bowen. First on the bench, I would have Gibbs White. And then you will have Mark Guiu and Richards as well. So Gibbs White will probably be the only cover on your bench this game week. But I think your other players will start. So it's probably good enough to only have Gibbs White on the bench. So I think information is really important ahead of game week 19. It's a quick turnaround. The next deadline after this one this evening is on Tuesday. So I think Radu Gavriliuta, I think I probably would avoid the hit this game week, to be honest. So Radu Gavriliuta still in the cup as well. Won his fixture in game week 17. So game week 17, a good game week for you. Green arrow and a win in the cup. I think I will just make my transfer. Don't forget to set up my own team as well. Let's see. So this is my team at the moment. I have discussed some potential replacements for Bruno Fernandes. At the moment, I'm actually leaning towards Anthony Gordon. Let's have a quick look at the poll. Cunha, he is the favorite. It's really close between Cunha and Wirtz at the moment. I think it's a bit closer compared to yesterday. 39 Cunha, 35 Wirtz. We have 20 for Anthony Gordon. So it's a bit closer compared to yesterday. I think Cunha probably is the best replacement. It really makes sense to go for Wirtz considering the fixture for Liverpool in game week 18 and the fact that I don't have any other Liverpool assets. The reason why I'm actually leaning towards Anthony Gordon is the fact that he is a bit cheaper compared to Wirtz and Cunha, and this will let me upgrade Raul Jimenez to Jared Bowen next game week. So for some, when I confirm this transfer, Bruno Fernandes to Gordon, probably won't make that much sense for everyone, but it's part of a plan. So I think Raul Jimenez will see some rotation going forward. That's the reason why I want to sell Raul to Jared Bowen next game week. Radu Gavriliuta, would you think of buying Gordon, Wirtz for Morgan Gibbs White? Is it worth a -4? I don't really like starting Gudmundsson this game week. If you want to play 3 at the back, then selling Morgan Gibbs White to Gordon or Wirtz, it's probably a good long-term move. So yeah, if you have the funds available to, let's say, do Gibbs White to Wirtz this game week for a -4, it's probably a good idea. Luis Silva, hi. Thanks for joining in, Luis. Predictions for the games. Let's see. Let's get the fixtures on the screen. What's your rank? My rank at the moment is 1.4 million, so not really satisfied with my rank. Had a really tough start this season. Horrible game week 1, ranked at 9.5. Actually had Jared Bowen as my captain. Had the likes of Saka, Cole Palmer, all blanking. So a bit disappointed, but I had some green arrows since and 1.4 is probably okay considering my start. But definitely not where I want to be, so hopefully the second part of the season will be a good one this season. So predictions for the games. I talked about the Man United Newcastle fixture yesterday. I think this will be a really, really interesting game. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually Man United supporter myself. I have been at the Old Trafford 8 or 9 times. But will they beat Newcastle at home this evening? I can see Man United struggle a bit in this fixture, to be honest. Their top 3 creators of chances will not play in game week 18. So Amad Diallo, Mbumo, and Bruno Fernandes, all of them will miss this game. I think this is really good news for Newcastle. And the fact that Newcastle, okay, they haven't really impressed us that much this season, but we saw this in game week 17 as well. Newcastle, they usually turn up in the big games, right? So traveling to Manchester on a Friday night on Boxing Day, I can't see Newcastle winning this one. So will they keep a clean sheet? I think this potentially can be like 2-3 to Newcastle potentially, or 1-3. Seeing that Man United might struggle to create chances. So 1-3 to Newcastle in the opening game this evening. I think Man City will do well against Nottingham Forest. I think given the fact that Forest, they have actually struggled to create chances, I think this will be 2 or 3-0 to Man City. Arsenal, 3-0 for them as well against Brighton. Brentford against Bournemouth. This will be a really interesting fixture. Hopefully Brentford can score some goals, seeing that I will keep Igor Thiago. But after Django Ouattara left for AFCON, they haven't really looked that threatening. So can actually be a low-scoring game, this one. They have been solid defensively at home, so I'd say this potentially can end 1-1. So Sandri Balou thinks there will be a bit more goals in this 3-3. So I do agree it's likely a draw. Will there be that many goals? I'm not really sure. Burnley-Everton, I think Everton will struggle in this one. But Everton, they don't score that many goals, so I can see a clean sheet for Everton. So 1-0 or 2-0 for Everton in that fixture. Liverpool, I think they will do well against Wolves at home. Can see them score 4 or more, actually. So let's say 4-0 to Liverpool against Wolves. West Ham, I think Fulham, they looked really good defensively for a long period, but in the last couple of game weeks, of course, they kept a clean sheet against Nottingham Forest in game week 17. So I think West Ham might struggle to score against Fulham. I think Fulham might actually take this 1-0. Chelsea, Aston Villa, I think Chelsea will win this one. Will they keep a clean sheet against Aston Villa? Not expecting them to do so. So 2-1 to Chelsea. Sunderland, Leeds. I think Leeds actually can do well in this fixture. Sunderland, I think. Sandri Balou thinks Sunderland will win. I will have it the other way around. Actually, I think Leeds. I'm really hoping that Leeds will do well in this fixture. I will start Rodon actually in game week 18. So this means that Leeds definitely will not keep a clean sheet, right? So 1-1 against Sunderland and Leeds. And I think that Crystal Palace might actually struggle. They have played a lot of games recently. I think we might see signs of this in game week 18. So I think it will be Crystal Palace 1, Spurs 2 or 3 potentially. I agree with most of your predictions, Sandri. How many points do you have? 1.4 is okay. In 3 game weeks, you can go up like 400k. Yeah, definitely. At this stage, still huge swings in rank, especially around that rank. So hopefully this will happen pretty soon. Actually, I even have the budget to go Richards to Calafiori. What do you think? I have the budget to go for Richards to Calafiori. What do you think? I think if you already have an Arsenal defender, it's probably enough at this point. So if you have Raya in goal, if you have Timber, I think I would avoid Calafiori. Of course, the Arsenal defense, they are still the most selected defense. And they are one of the most solid defenses as well, but I think there are some really good value defenders available at the moment. So doubling up on the Arsenal defense when we have Everton with really good fixtures. Aston Villa could be options as well from game week 20 and onwards. Players like Cash. So locking 6 million into defense by doing Richards to Calafiori. Of course, if you think Arsenal will do well, then yeah. I'm top 2k in the world. My advice is don't go for template picks. Watch games, bring in your own players. Definitely really good. Really good advice. I talked about this a couple of times as well. You can look at stats, but I think it's even more important to actually watch the games. Don't go for template picks. I think that, of course, you need to be a bit different in some positions, but don't go for template picks. I would go for the picks that you feel make sense. So if you have watched the player, you can see that he's full of confidence and the fixtures looks good going forward. So even though the stats are not the best, I think it's those kind of players that you need to go for. So this is one of the reasons why I'm actually really tempted by Anthony Gordon. I know the fixture is probably not the best this game week playing at the Old Trafford against Man United, but he will see some rotation. He will be subbed off early, but I think that's 70 minutes of Anthony Gordon in the good fixtures for Newcastle coming up. Probably is a good idea. He's on penalties as well. I only have Timber, thinking maybe double Arsenal is a good play. It's definitely not a bad play to have double Arsenal defense by any means, but as mentioned, I think there are some really good defenders on offer at the moment at a cheaper price. So yeah, that's probably my reasoning for going without Calafiori. Calafiori might be my path to Gabriel as well when he returns, definitely. So it's not a terrible idea to bring in Calafiori. Definitely not. Luis Silva, my team is Raya, Guehi, Timber, Anderson, Senesi in defense, Phil Foden, Semenyo, Wirtz, Ekitiki, Thiago, and Erling Haaland up front. On the bench, Dubravka, Bruno Guimaraes, Cash, and Tavernier. think this team looks good to go, Luis. I have to admit I'm a bit jealous on your double up on the Liverpool attack ahead of game week 18. Ekitike, Wirtz. I think they might do well against Wolves at home. Irish Peter, big up. Thanks for joining in as always. Thanks for the support. So this deadline stream is a bit earlier, so it's probably not a deadline stream. So still 5 hours and 9 minutes until the deadline. Going a bit earlier today because I have some commitments tonight. So that's the reason why I'm starting a bit earlier. Would you bench Ballard for Calafiore this week? Yes. I would definitely start Calafiore ahead of Ballard in game week 18. So let's see. Yeah, Sandri. Yes, from Sandri as well. So this is my team. This will most probably be my transfer. Bruno Fernandes to Anthony Gordon. Only way I can get Cunha since the beginning. For those who have been on since the beginning of the stream, you probably heard this a couple of times, but the reasoning behind going Anthony Gordon instead of Wirtz, instead of Cunha, it's actually because Gordon, he is a bit cheaper, and this will let me upgrade Raul Jimenez to Jared Bowen in game week 19. So I haven't completely lost my mind going for Anthony Gordon ahead of Liverpool attacker or the straight swap to Cunha. It's actually because of the price of Anthony Gordon at the moment. I probably prefer Gordon, to be honest. I think he's a really good option. I have talked about this a couple of times. I think Cunha probably makes most sense. Having a Liverpool attacker in game week 18 is definitely a good idea, but Anthony Gordon is not far behind them. So Anthony Gordon it is. The problem with that is next week I'll have two defenders playing against Aston Villa. I usually try to avoid having situations like this when I have to play my defenders against my defenders against my attacking players. Just expect sub at 60-70 minutes. That's one of the things about Anthony Gordon. At the moment, he's not a 90 minutes man, but at some point he might become a 90 minutes man again, right? We saw this last season with Newcastle. They usually took Alexander Isak out, and if they had to defend the lead, they had Anthony Gordon running up front for 90 minutes. So at the moment, I totally agree. I don't expect 90 minutes from Anthony Gordon week in, week out, but at some point he might be a player like that. He's on corners, he's on penalties. Let's confirm this transfer once and for all. The heavy fixture congestion makes me think this isn't a great idea. Newcastle are not short of options up front as well. Might see some rotation, of course. with Anthony Gordon. I know about the risk. I could go Bruno Guimaraes to Gordon, but I think rolling the transfer could be more valuable. What do you think? Definitely, if you have Bruno Guimaraes, is also a really good option. So I think selling Bruno Guimaraes to upgrade to Anthony Gordon is probably a bit too sideways. So I would definitely just save my transfer, to be honest. So this is my team after making my transfer. Bruno Fernandes, he has been sold to make room for Anthony Gordon. So I will start Sanchez. Not the best fixture for Sanchez. I'm not really expecting Chelsea to keep a clean sheet, but it's at the Stamford Bridge. Hopefully Sanchez can get some points. I'm really tempted by starting Rodon in game week 18. And this means that Van de Ven will be on the bench. Vandenberg at home against Bournemouth, and I will have Timber against Brighton. Phil Foden, Rice, Saka, so triple up on Arsenal at the moment with Rice and Saka. Gordon, my new signing, away against Man United this evening. Really, really looking forward to this game, to be honest. And up front, I kept Thiago, I kept Raul Jimenez, so hopefully they can deliver this game week. So at home against Bournemouth, Raul Jimenez playing away against West Ham. It's not the worst fixtures. They're both the first choice penalty takers for their teams. Really hope that they can do well this game week. Don't you think about selling Saka? I will probably sell Saka at some point. I had a discussion last week about Bukayo Saka. I think he's a keep this game week, playing at home against Brighton. Can potentially sell Bukayo Saka and use the funds to upgrade to Cole Palmer in game week 21. Yeah, if it's definitely confirmed that Saka don't have penalties, but I think we have seen this earlier as well. I think Saka is the main penalty taker, but last season as well we saw Ødegaard taking some of the penalties, but all of a sudden Saka was back on penalties. So I'm hoping this is the case this season as well, that Bukayo Saka gave the penalty to Gyökeres to be friendly and that he will take the next one himself. I will probably bench Rodgers next week, but not a fan of having defenders against Aston Villa with how high they're flying at the moment. Yeah, I found some form, so yeah, that's why I'm not expecting Chelsea to keep a clean sheet this game week as well. But Everton, will Burnley keep a clean sheet against Everton? I think I'll actually just start Sanchez. If Gabriel is back, I would sell Saka for Gabriel. This might be an option when Gabriel is back. Probably selling Saka to someone and then upgrading, let's say, Van de Ven to Gabriel when he's back fit. Captain Ekitike over Erling Haaland. Wolves at home, the easiest fixture in the league, and everyone always returns against them. I definitely think Ekitike is a really good captain option this game week. So Haaland, I said this earlier as well, Haaland, he is the safest option. He will have the highest effective ownership, but if you think that Ekitike, the thing that makes Ekitike a really good captain option this game week is the fixture, of course. He mentioned that Wolves, they are actually one of the worst defensive teams. And the fact that Alexander Isak picked up an injury as well. And this will make Ekitike close to nailed on for Liverpool at the moment. So I wish I had an easy way to bring in Ekitike myself, but I will watch this game from behind the couch, hoping that my other forwards can match him or at least be close to Ekitike in game week 18. Joshua, I have Cunha, Phil Foden. Who is the best midfielder to bring in? Gordon, Guimaraes, Jack Grealish or Schade. I think Anthony Gordon is the best option out of those four. I think Kevin Schade is probably a bit too expensive, priced at 7 million without any set pieces. I looked up Schade's price a couple of weeks ago for a video I was making, and I was a bit surprised seeing that his price is 7, to be honest. I think upgrading to Anthony Gordon at 7.3 definitely is a better deal. Sundry, for me, it's Bruno Fernandes. Really good value as well, but his price has gone up to 7 as well, right? I'm not saying that Bruno Fernandes is a bad pick. He's on some set pieces for Newcastle as well, taking most of their corners, isn't he? We scored from a corner kick in game week. Is it game week 15 or 16? He is the captain of Newcastle, plays 90 minutes, Defcon, can get assists, maybe some goals. I think it's really important, one of those arguments about the minutes. I think considering that he's also priced 0.3 cheaper than Gordon, probably I should have gone Bruno Fernandes, to be honest. So 5 minutes ago, I made my transfer this game week. Bruno Fernandes to Anthony Gordon. Grealish is underrated. I think I agree with this. Grealish is probably a bit underrated. He had a really good start and he set a new record for most transferred in player. I think it was 1.5 million, something like that. So he is potentially a really good option going forward, especially considering Everton's fixtures. Do you think Arsenal's defense is still as foolproof as earlier in the season? Conceding to Wolves was a huge surprise for me. So definitely their defensive stats was a bit better in the first 12 game weeks when we consider expected goals conceded. I still think that they are one of the best defenses, definitely, but the thing is that most of their defenders, especially the ones that's most nailed on, like Calafiori, Timber, they are pretty expensive at the moment. So is it worth having a double up? It's probably a good idea to have a double up still, but I don't think it's essential doubling up on the Arsenal defense. Having one Arsenal defender totally makes sense, but Grealish has good fixtures mentioned in the chat as well. I would like upgrade his fixtures from good to really, really good fixtures. Let's have a quick look at the fixtures for Everton. So in game week 18, they play away against Burnley, away against Forest. Then they have Brentford at home, Wolves at home. So kind of a tough game in game week 22, playing away against Aston Villa. But then they have Leeds at home in game week 23, Brighton away game week 24, Fulham in game week 25, and then 2 home games against Bournemouth and Man United. So really good fixtures, as mentioned, for Grealish. He will play most minutes as well. At least he will start games. He is that kind of player that can be taken off. at around 80 minutes just to get a rest. And we might see this game week as well, given that there's a really quick turnaround between game week 18 and game week 19. So remember, the game week 18 deadline is this evening. It's 4 hours and 54 minutes away. The next deadline is on Tuesday, so a quick turnaround between game week 18 and game week 19. In fact, that the deadline is today, but there's only one game this evening, Man United against Newcastle. Most of the games are on Saturday, so it's only a couple of days rest for most of the teams between game week 18 and game week 19. So it will be really interesting to see if we get some concrete news on some of the players ahead of game week 19. So I will have a Q&A Monday night. So I will have, I'm sorry about the sounds, but I will have a Q&A on Monday night after having a look at the results in game week 18 and some news from the press conferences as well. So if you're interested, subscribe to the channel and join that one as well. I've actually had a couple of questions about free hits and wildcards. I've actually made a video about game week 19 wildcard and free hit as well. I think I will edit and post this video this evening. So if you still have chips to play, I would definitely use my wildcard. So if you have both your wildcard and free hit, I would definitely go for the wildcard. It's a bit more powerful compared to the free hit. So of course, when you use your wildcard, those transfers will stick. And when you use your free hit, your team will go back to your game week 18 team in game week 20. So ahead of game week 19, if you still have a couple of chips left, wildcard is probably the most powerful. So let's see if there are any last teams posted on X. So Vish Malhotra ahead of the game. Had a look at those teams, right? Great. So sometimes when I have those streams, I tell people to post on X, and sometimes I forget to check. So please send reminders in the chat as well. But so my transfer is done. Bruno Fernandes is sold. Anthony Gordon is brought in. My captain will most probably be Erling Haaland with Bukayo Saka. So I think Saka is a solid option at home against Brighton. But the fact, it has been mentioned in the chat as well, the fact that Gyökeres took the last penalty kind of puts me off taking a punt on Saka this game week. I think if you have Ekitike, he is definitely worth a punt with the captaincy this game week. But seeing that my other options, Raul Jimenez and Thiago up front, I wouldn't really trust them with the captaincy in game week 18. So I think I'll just play it safe and go for Erling Haaland. Another decision for me is to start Rodon or Van de Ven. At the moment, I'm going for Rodon. Van de Ven could, of course, be a really good option as well. So Rodon versus Van de Ven, still kind of a decision to be made. But Elliot Anderson, he will be on my bench together with Van Hecke. So Van Hecke is yellow flagged as well, so he will definitely stay on my bench this game week. So I have 2 free transfers, 1 transfer saved. So my plan in game week 19 is to sell Raul Jimenez to bring in I will have a Q&A on Monday night ahead of game week 19. Remember, it's a Tuesday deadline, so subscribe to the channel so we don't miss that one. So let me know in the chat if you have any last minute questions. I will be logging off in 4 to 5 minutes. So the deadline is actually 4 hours and 49 minutes away. This is called a deadline stream. It's probably not a deadline stream since I will not be able to sit all the way until the deadline, but going a bit earlier than usual because of some commitments this evening. Best of luck, everyone, this game week. Best of luck, Red or Dead. Hopefully game week 18 will deliver a green arrow. Start Guehi or Harry Wilson. I think I would probably start Harry Wilson. We didn't get any concrete news, but we got an update today. He took a heavy knock on his knee, but it wasn't that serious as first expected, so he might be back for game week 18, so I would just start Harry Wilson. Picture is decent for Fulham playing away against West Ham, so Harry Wilson with Guehi first on the bench probably makes sense. Adam Clarin's captain, Erling Haaland or Ekitike. I had a couple of similar questions. I think Erling Haaland is the safest option, but I really like Ekitike for game week 18. So if you want to play it safe, go Erling Haaland. But if you want to take a punt, go Ekitike, captain for game week 18. How are you, my friend? Where have you been? It's been a long time since you went live. I think I did 2 Q&As ahead of game week 17. I had a stream yesterday as well, so the regular night before the deadline. So I had a stream yesterday, but you probably missed it. Sorry about that, but glad to see you managed to join this one. So the stream is actually coming to an end, so just having a couple of last minute questions. I need to go in a couple of minutes. Which to start, Elliot Anderson or Thiav? Welcome to Morocco, please. It's Elliot Anderson, right? Or the Fulham centre back? So if it's Elliot Anderson playing against Man City, I would probably bench Thiav, especially if you have Cunha. I would definitely bench Thiav. If it's Joachim Andersen, the Fulham centre back, I would probably start him against West Ham. I'm benching Elliot Anderson myself away at home against Man City this game week. Can't really see which player I would bench to make room for Elliot Anderson this game week. So Phil Foden, Rice, Saka, Gordon, Thiago, Raul Jimenez, Erling Haaland. I don't know, I feel Ekitike at home to Wolves is the best fixture in the league. Has been on form, probably on penalties, and has 35 in his last 3. Haaland has 31. Haaland is inevitable though. The thing is that I think it's probably a good game week for a punt. There's not that many triple captainships left. The only thing is that the players that have forgotten to play their chips, they will probably get reminded on X, something like that, in a Christmas family dinner, got a reminder that they need to play their chips ahead of game week 19. So I think the effective ownership for Erling Haaland will be really high in game week 18 as well. So there is a risk involved, of course, going against Erling Haaland, but I think the benefits of going for Ekitike could be really, really good in game week 18. As you say, he is nailed on. The fixture can't be much better, so it totally makes sense to go for Ekitike punt in game week 18. I don't have Ekitike in my team, so for me it will be Erling Haaland for game week 18. So my transfer this game week was actually to sell Bruno Fernandes and bring in Anthony Gordon. The reason for going Anthony Gordon is the fact that I needed the funds by going for Anthony Gordon rather than Cunha and Wirtz, and this will allow me to upgrade Raul Jimenez to Jared Bowen next game week. So let's see what happens in game week 18. Best of luck, and thanks all for joining in. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and if you're interested, go check out my videos as well. That would be really, really appreciated. But hopefully I'll see you on Monday. That will be the next live Q&A. So as mentioned a couple of times, best of luck for game week 18, and hopefully I'll see you next time as well.